Hi everybody, Matt here from Matt Likes Comics. And it's been a while since I've done one of the videos like this, where I'm going to do a video about a creator today. This creator is reasonably famous. Most people have read something by him. Whether you're a Marvel fan or a DC fan, there's a good chance you've read something by him. If you're a Star Trek fan, or if you are a fan of the show of Babylon 5, then you've seen something that he's written. And of Star Trek, you've probably, if you collect the novels, again, you may have done this. I, of course, am talking about the writer Peter David, who passed away in the year 2025 and was known for being very prolific. So, before I get into today's topic, I just wanted to say I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because this is airing after New Year's, and that everybody took some time to recharge and be themselves again. Get away from the work grind, hang out with family, hang out with friends, etc., etc. I'm trying to be sincere, as they say. So, let's get into it. It's been a while since I've done a single subject video, whether it's I'm going to be picking a villain soon to be doing a video about. I just haven't got there yet, but we will get there. Excuse me. As everybody knows, I've been sick recently and still got a bit of the lingers. All right, let's begin. Peter Allen David was born on September 23rd, 1956, and unfortunately passed away on May 24th, 2025. He was a writer of comic books, novels, television, movies, and video games. Now, with the video games, all I could find was that he was one of the dialogue writers for, like sometimes during the cut shots, people talk to each other. That's the kind of stuff he did for video games. He is best known in comics for runs on The Incredible Hulk, Aquaman, Young Justice, Spy Boy, Supergirl, Fallen Angel, Spectacular Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2099, Captain Marvel, the I believe it's the Garvel version, and X Factor. These are all major books that he worked on at some point. He's also written several Star Trek novels, as I said, and he was a screenwriter for Babylon 5. He did about, from what I could see, it was about 6 episodes, but I may be wrong. So the source is a little fuzzy, and I couldn't find a second source. So let's go with that. He did write on Wikipedia. He is listed as a Babylon 5 writer, which is why I went searching for more. He jokingly referred to himself that his job title was writer of stuff. So he had a sense of humor. Peter David won an Eisner in 1992, a Wizard Award in 93. He won a Spanish comic, what they call Haxton Award in 1996. And he won a Julie Award in 1998, named after Julius Schwartz for his sci-fi work. And won an award in 2011 from the GLAAD people, because he was considered to be a very strong ally to the community. Born in Fort Meade, Maryland, he first became involved in comics and interested as a 5-year-old, reading Casper the Friendly Ghost and Wendy the Witch. His superhero interest was piqued by the Adventures of Superman television series. His parents approved of the kid comics, but did not approve of the superheroes, so Peter had to read them in secret, claiming that Superman was his favorite character at that time. Peter's at Peter's first comic convention that he went to as a kid, he got to meet Jack Kirby, cementing his love of the medium forever. He decided to become a writer at about age 12, and he began a lifelong legacy for an advocate for gay people once he found out that his best high school friend was gay, and That is the reason I bring it up in this article is because it's a big part of who he is in some of his writing, and he wrote some stuff early on, like years and years before any of the current things went on, and he made it more natural. So that's why I bring it. After losing interest in comics for a bit, Giant Size X-Men #1 piqued his interest in the genre again. And when he met Stephen King and spoke with him about working in writing, he was absolutely hooked. He decided, I'm going to be a comics writer. His first professional comic work was covering the 1974 World Science Fiction Convention in Washington for the Philadelphia Bulletin newspaper. Realizing he was not very good at newspaper writing, he began to write novels. And in writing novels, he also started writing comics on the side. This gave him an in at the publishing companies, where he eventually met a guy by the name of Jim Owsley, who was also an editor of the Spider-Man books. David's first published work in comics was Spectacular Spider-Man 103 in June 1985. And then when he wrote the story of the death of Jean DeWolf in issues 107 to 110 of that series, saw him as a successful writer, but he was fired from Marvel shortly thereafter. He was recruited and rehired again by Bob Harras to do The Incredible Hulk, which he then ended up writing for 12 years. It was David who helped create the Grey Hulk, and he helped Ang Lee with the screenplay and the writing for the 2003 Hulk movie. During his Hulk run, Peter was considered to be a freelancer. He was never under exclusive contract with Marvel, so he was able to work for DC Comics at the same time. He ended up doing a Green Lantern feature in Action Comics Weekly from issues 608 to 620. And he ended up writing a 4-issue Phantom miniseries for DC at that time. Peter David then took over Dreadstar with issue 41 after Jim Starlin left the books. And he was there until issue 64. He also did the first Aquaman 7-issue miniseries, known as the Atlantis Chronicles, which was about the history of Atlantis, and then he ended up writing an Aquaman series. He wrote the first 46 issues of the Aquaman series run that he was on. And it was Peter David who gave Aquaman the harpoon hand and wrote the character so that he actually decided actively to write the character in a way that people would forget about the lame Aquaman on the Super Friends. He then ended up writing the Star Trek comics for DC from 88 to 91. And he ended up writing the entire 80 issues of the Supergirl series featuring Matrix as the Supergirl. And in the 2000s, he returned to Marvel and did the FF and Captain Marvel work. He worked on Fantastic Four for a while, but only on miniseries, not on the main book. He began a new title in 2003 with DC Vertigo imprint named Fallen Angel, which was based on ideas that he had for a Supergirl run but wasn't able to use because they were a little more of the darker adult bent. That title lasted only 20 issues but was picked up by IDW in 2005, and he did some work as well. And he did a little bit of work on Buffy books. However, I could not find which books he was credited with, because I would have pulled them to show, because I have everything by Buffy and Dark Horse and ID and Boom and all that. finally signing a contract with the company at Marvel in 2006. He returned to the Hulk for 11 issues and then did a She-Hulk series and some Avengers work before starting a long run on X Factor until the series ended with issue 262. Excuse me. He ended up helping launch the all-new version of the X Factor team, establishing them in the corporate-sponsored form of team that they are during this run. He also wrote the 2014 Spider-Man 2099 series, and he did various other side work for Marvel where, yeah, we need a guy to write this one issue. We need a guy to write that. So many that the list is literally that long, and for me to even try to find those books, because I had none of them, would have, based on what they are, they're probably all dollar bin books. It would have taken me a long time. Besides, I think you'll find I have enough books. David had a reputation for quitting books when dealing with the people involved got a little dicey. And that is why, for the most part, he got to do the entire run of Supergirl because they left him alone. There are some gaps in his Incredible Hulk run of the 12 years where he took 2 months here or 3 months there off because he didn't get along with a certain person, and Marvel got rid of them and he came back, yada, yada, yada. And he was considered to be very outspoken in the way that he dealt with editors. Having had 4 daughters, and he was an early, they call it a pusher, an early pusher of female-led books on both the DC and the Marvel side, and that is actually one of the reasons he ended up with Supergirl, was because here we've got this female-led female character we want to make a book about. He would get into public arguments with Jim Shooter and Frank Miller over the years, which could have ruined his career, but he managed to sidestep a lot of that and continued to work. Peter David died on May 24th, 2025, after fighting various strokes and organ failures that he had over the last 5 years of his life. I think he's a great writer, okay? Everything I've written by him, I've liked. And I have here a sample of work he did over the years. Various things. They're not necessarily in order here, but they're things that I pulled that I own that Peter David did. Like this Incredible Hulk 385. And then 387. And 395. I managed to find and pick up this Spider-Man 2099 number 8. Even says right here, David. So I knew I had the right series. This was a Spider-Verse era, so there were a lot of different interesting people involved in those. I have the entire run of his Action Comics Lantern, but because I plan on showing a lot from another certain run, I decided only to show 608, which was the first one that he did, and also the first one with the Green Lantern on the cover for the run of 608 to 620. Next up, I've got X Factor 85, which was part of the Executioner's song. He wrote this particular book. He wrote this era. The main writers of all the books and such did their sections, like a lot of these crossovers. So, then we've got this great cover showing Aquaman with his hook hand fighting Lobo. This is Aquaman 4. Aquaman 6. As you may be able to tell, I have a few DC ones. Aquaman 9. And Aquaman 11. Ooh. To go with those other ones, I did pull 609, 610. These are the Action Comics, and 611, just so that I could say I showed 4 of the Action Comics. And I forgot I had pulled them. Silly me. And the last batch I'm going to show all come from a Supergirl run, which I have the complete run of. But, you know, this to me, because he had taken so many breaks during the Hulk run of his 12 years, this actually represents the longest uninterrupted run that he did on a particular book. He did all 80 issues. This is Supergirl number 1, second print. By the way, this was the first one. This is the one all the homages come from. Supergirl 2, because it's a cool cover. Supergirl 3. I love the final night. Number 4. Hot Evil Supergirl. Yes, it fought Grodd. That is Grodd on the cover. That is Grodd. Number 5. Six. And no, I'm not showing the entire run, but I pulled out a bunch of the early ones because she looks the most like Supergirl on this. 7. 8. 9, when she starts looking a little bit, because they're starting to begin the storyline where Linda Lee and her merge into one, as in Linda Danvers. Linda Danvers, by the way, in this book is a separate person who was not a very nice person, who dies, and somehow part of her soul ends up mixing with Matrix's, and that is where the main part of this whole angelic thing comes from. Here is Supergirl 10. I like, I don't know why, but I like when they are lifting big things like buses and planes and things like that. So I went with this one. And the last batches are from later in the run, while he's still doing them. This is Supergirl 75. By this point, she's doing the Kara Inzi things, not the Matrix per se anymore. And this is 76. 77. 78. 79. Very cool homage. This is a book you should read. Actually, all the ones that I'm pulling out, the last 5 issues, 75 to 80, are a really cool story run that talk about how there are 2 Supergirls. This particular one ends up marrying Superman because she's not related to him. So they end up having a wedding and a life. And here's number 80 when it's all sorted out, because here's the thing. It involves Crisis on Infinite Earths, is all I will say. And we've got the Supergirl as we know her from here. And we have the Supergirl versus, the character in the book. However, we're not here to analyze the Supergirl books as much as we are to talk about Peter David. those are some sample books that I've got from his career that span across the one. I did look for the Spectacular Spider-Man ones, but the only place that had it was, and it wouldn't get here in time for me to do this video, and I wasn't going to wait because I had this idea and I really wanted to get it out there. If you liked what I've done today, please like, comment, and subscribe below. I'd particularly like to know if you liked Peter David or didn't like him, and if you liked him, what runs you liked, what books you bought, that kind of thing. Comment below if you liked any of these books. Comment if you don't like the books. It's all good. Thank you very much for joining me today on this little trip through memory lane, so to speak. My name is Matt. I like comics, and I hope you do too. Bye, everybody.